Oh yeah, I was going right. Why get on the right? When I was doing my driving license, my lady took me back. No, this is here too. This is where she took me.
No.
This is where she took me.
It's like my best friend.
Cool.
Yeah.
There's no fences or anything.
Start whenever you want.
Yeah.
It's like Victor's neighborhood on steroids.
Thank you guys for coming. I know, also, as you guys can probably tell, this meeting is going to be recorded. For those of you that don't know, we have a Canvas page with a bunch of real resources. We're going to keep building it out as the year progresses, and we do have recordings from previous speakers as well on the Canvas page. If you guys want to scan the link to the Canvas page, this recording as well as other recordings will be there. So I know the past 2 weeks we had midterms, and I'm sure like some of you still have them. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come tonight. This is Jeff. I've met him a couple times before in my personal life, and he's, I think, honestly, the most friendly person in real estate. And like by a far margin, it's not even close. So, quick little bio. This is going to be primarily about sales and marketing. So, Jeffrey Greif is a professional sales representative at First American Title Insurance Company, a Fortune 500 multinational corporation of more than 37 years. Prior to that, Jeff was in advertising for 7 years at Saatchi & Saatchi Advertisements, at the time the world's largest advertising agency. For more than 25 years, Jeff has given sales and marketing seminars to people and sales managers across the United States. He's proud to have been recognized 4 times with the First American Circle of Excellence Award, has received the National Association of Industry and Office Properties President Award, and the Monmouth University Kislak Arthur M. Greenbaum Mark of Distinction Award, so a lot of awards. He was featured this month on the podcast Title Nerds, which I listened to, great podcast.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was pretty good, yeah. I enjoyed. Where he spoke about title insurance, sales, and professional business networking. For several years, Jeff has presented to business people and university students, sharing his sales and marketing experiences, speaking about how to be a professional salesperson and marketing specialist. And you were just at Monmouth University?
Yes.
Yes, so.
Yeah, I just spoke two weeks ago there.
That's awesome. So he's fresh, and ladies and gentlemen, Jeffrey Greif.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. I want to thank Lisa Rossini and especially Keith Furtado. Thank you, Keith. You know, it's funny, when Keith and I first met, we hit it off immediately, right? It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you, and I appreciate our friendship.
Yeah. For context, I was going to a networking event, and Jeff was waiting in the front of the event, and he was just smiling. I instantly started talking to him. I actually thought he worked at the event. So, and that's the kind of guy Jeff is. He's always putting himself like front and center, just always willing to meet people.
I very much remember that I was at that event from 7:30 in the morning, and you and I met at probably around 6:30 at night, and I was sitting on that couch, exhausted. It was a great networking event, though. So. And you know, I put this box of cereal here. I'm so glad that I bought this today, because I bought this cereal today for lunch, and we'll get to this. I want to thank you all very much. Thank you for attending and you know, for inviting me to speak about the pride and passion of sales. I do love the profession of sales. Being a professional salesperson, this profession truly has forced me to face myself and to take control over my life and help so many other people and become financially independent as well. So what is selling? Selling is finding out what people want or what they need and meeting their desires. And we're going to be talking a lot about that. I would like you all please to fill out your names and your cell numbers and your email addresses. You're the first to know this. I'm going to be starting a podcast about sales, and I will email all of you. You'll be the first ones to know, because I'm so grateful that you had me speak today. But it's a little bit more work. Thank you. It's a little bit more work than I thought it was going to be, but you know, it's funny. Like I say this to my son and my friends. It's important to keep pushing yourself all through life. Try different things. try, fail, learn, and it keeps you young, and it keeps you interested in life. So if you don't mind, please do fill out this, the email address and your name, and this way we can all keep in touch with one another as well. Thank you, I appreciate that. Let me begin by saying what I've learned is that we all sell, right? I mean, I'm a salesperson for a company, but everybody sells. Mothers sell nurturing, clergy sell morality and salvation, right? Teachers sell education, friends sell friendship and acceptance, and businesses sell goods and services. The question isn't whether or not we sell, it's whether or not we're any good at it. So there are two ways to become a successful salesperson. One way is to spend the next 35 to 40 years of your life knocking on doors and meeting with people and failing and learning, and then reaping the rewards in 30 or 40 years from now. Or the second way that I recommend is learning from a guy like me who spent 40 years knocking on doors, making sales calls, learning along the way, yes, but also learning from the books I've read, the seminars that I've attended, and the audio presentations that I listen to. And at the end of the talk, I'm gonna hand out a sheet of paper with all of some of the top books that I've read over the years. Some of them are dated, but that's okay. And some of them are new. Some of the resources are new. Audio that I listen to today. So I highly recommend learn from people like me who have spent the last 40 years knocking on doors and making sales calls. And as far as selling is concerned, Mark, can you come up here? I need a volunteer. This is one of my favorite things that I do when I hire new salespeople. Sell me this pen, Mark.
Okay, how long have you been in the market for a pen?
I have so many pens, Mark, that I'm really not in the market for a pen.
Okay. What are the pens you have now look like?
I have plastic pens. I've got pens that people have given me for gifts that I just have in my desk drawer, and I really don't use them that much.
So it seems like your pens are lacking because you're not using them enough. This pen right here, it's a nice metallic coating on it. You know, very functional, very easy to use, lightweight, easy to write with.
I love this, Mark. Yes. Did you notice that Mark was asking me questions? That's great. Usually, when I hand a pen to somebody that I'm hiring, they tell me about how terrific the pen is, but they don't ask me questions. You ask me questions, man. I love it. Thank you for volunteering. This is one of the most important books that I've ever read. Anybody read this book? Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's one of the most important books I've ever read. I recommend that you all go on Amazon tonight and read it. It was written a long time ago. But I read this book every 5 years. The book doesn't change, but I do. This book is for you. That was great. Really good. Now wait, don't go anywhere. Let me sell the pen to you.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, I would like you to hold this pen.
Okay.
All right? Feel the weight of that pen. Isn't that a beautiful pen? Let me tell you something about this pen. Not only is this no gold-plated pen. This is not even a 10-karat pen. This is a 14-karat gold pen. It's a cross pen, which is true. It's 14 karat. Spent a lot of money on this pen many years ago. How do you feel when you're holding that pen? You feel the weight of it?
Feel like I'm something, you know?
Right, exactly. The status of that pen, right? How do people perceive you when you're holding that pen? When you're using that pen, how do you think other people are going to see you?
Like a baller.
Yeah, exactly, like a baller. You're the man. Now, let me tell you a story about this pen. This is a true story, by the way. When I had a goal many years ago to make a certain amount. I love this pen. It's a great pen. You know, it's heavy, right? I had a goal many years ago, and to make a certain amount of money and to save a certain amount of money. And as a reward to myself, I bought a $40,000 Lexus cash, right? it was a great moment in my life. And I go into the dealership. I loved that car. I drove it into the ground. I had like 250,000 miles on that car. I love that car. And when I went to write the check, this was the pen that the guy handed me. A plastic pen. I go, I said to the sales rep, I said, this is a very important moment in my life. I'm writing this very expensive check, and you're handing me this plastic pen? I said, no, I am not using that pen. I pulled this pen out of my pocket, and I used this pen when I wrote the check. Now, you're dying to have this pen, aren't you?
I still have some questions.
I love it. Thank you very much. You were great, man. I love that he was asking questions. Now, it's not only, I do love this pen. It's not only the asking of the questions, but it's about emotion, right? It's about emotion when we sell. When we sell our products and services to other people. It's not just about asking questions. So first, let's talk about emotions first. And this is why I love that I bought this box of cereal today. Because when I picked out this box of cereal today to eat in my car between sales calls, now it says on the box, protein and fiber, right? So it must be healthy for me. And 10 grams of protein. I don't even know how many grams of protein I'm supposed to eat, but it sounded like a lot. Sounds good. Fiber, non-GMO. I have no idea what GMO means, but I thought, wow, that's interesting. But so did I buy this cereal box today because it was healthy for me? No. When I saw it, it said chocolate for breakfast. Chocolate for breakfast. That's why I bought this cereal today, because it's all about the emotion. So when we buy based on emotion, and then we justify our decisions with logic. Have you all heard this before? Yeah? It's so true. People buy based on emotion and then justify their decision with logic. So it's crazy but true. And you know, why else would I spend so much money on a pen? I can use this pen for free, but I spent a lot of money on this pen. Why? Because I have more emotion wrapped up in this pen than I could ever have in this pen, right? I love giving this example. Has anybody heard of Brian Tracy? He's in one of these old school sales guys. Yeah, Brian Tracy? I love Brian Tracy. In fact, I use Brian Tracy's organization's business coach. I speak to him once a month. Really great. And I included Brian Tracy on this sheet of paper that I'm going to be handing out. And Brian Tracy, many years ago, tells a story about being in the real estate business where the realtor was showing a home. And as they pulled up to the home, the wife said to the husband, "Oh, Harry, look at that big oak tree in the front lawn. When I was a little girl, we had a big, beautiful oak tree in our front lawn." And then the realtor was showing them the house, and in the entry, the ceiling was a little small. It wasn't as tall as the height of the ceiling was a little shorter than they would have liked. And the realtor said, "Yes, but look, from here you can see this big, beautiful oak tree. Isn't that beautiful?" And they looked in, the bathrooms needed to be renovated, and the carpeting needed to be replaced, and the rooms were a little smaller than they would have liked. "Yes, but from this window, you can see that big, beautiful oak tree." And they ended up buying the house. Why? Because of emotion. So when you're selling, you've got to ask questions and use emotion when you're selling. So like I said, it sounds ridiculous, but people buy based on emotion, and then they justify it with logic. So questions. Why do we ask questions? Why is it so important to ask questions when we're selling? Anyone? Why is it so important? Yes?
Make the experience about the other person.
You make the experience about the other person, exactly. You find out about their business, their life. Why?
Find out what they need.
You find out what they need. Right, when I started in sales, I didn't know enough, so I was making these sales calls, And I was just telling them how great our service was. Well, they didn't care. Sometimes I walked in and I made sales calls and they didn't care about what I was saying. You know, sometimes I would say, we're the largest in the state. And sometimes somebody would say to me, I don't want to use the largest in the state. I'm looking to do business with a small local business that I can have a relationship with. Well, I was sunk, right? It wasn't until, that's a very good point, it wasn't until I started asking questions where I was able to find out from people what it was that was important to them. Also, when you ask questions, you control the conversation. Very important in selling. When you ask questions, you control the conversation. Because you're asking the questions, you're leading the conversation with questions. Yes? See what I just did there? I ended the sentence with a question. Yes? I'm leading the conversation. Very important. You control the conversation with questions. You learn about people, and people will know that you care. Have you ever met somebody for the first time and they don't ask you a single question about yourself, and you think, what a selfish jerk, you know, right? I don't want to know this person. Somebody who doesn't ask you a question about yourself. When you ask questions of clients and prospects, or just people that you know, they'll know that you care. And there's an old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And how do people know you care? You ask them questions. Questions about themselves, questions about their business, questions about their family. Also, yes. Oh, yes.
Is the goal there not only to like understand what they need, but to be able to connect with them and kind of like hit like a deeper level?
I love you. What is your name?
Sahil.
Sahil, I love you. That was my next point. You build rapport and trust with people when you ask them questions. Fantastic. Thank you, Sahil. Yes. When you ask questions, you build rapport and trust with the other person. And speaking of rapport, this is my favorite part. Are you ready? Does everybody want to learn a superpower in sales? It's a superpower, believe me. Before I reveal this secret superpower, and it is a true superpower, let's discuss communication. I would imagine that everybody, you're in business school, you're learning about business. I'm guessing that most of you understand that communication, when we communicate with other people, that only 7% is words. You've heard this, yes? Has anybody heard this? Only 7% of communication is words. Tonality is 38% of communication. When I was a young boy and my mother said, Jeffrey, she wasn't just saying my name, right? Tonality is very important in communication. Tonality is 38% of communication. And physiology is 55% of communication. Physiology. When you're having a conversation with somebody, the tilt of their head, how they're standing, how they're speaking. Are they speaking loud or soft? Are they calm or are they intense? Are they frowning? Communication, 55% of communication is physiology, body posture, intensity, hand gestures, right? And I'll give you an example. When somebody says, I love you, means something completely different from, oh, I love you, means something completely different, doesn't it? Yes. So, physiology, tonality, and words are only 7%. Very important to understand that. And in order to sell anything, we need to have rapport and connection and trust with that person, like Sahil had mentioned. So here's the superpower. This is our little secret, okay? This is not to be shared with anyone else because it's so powerful. Has anyone ever heard of mirroring and matching? Has anybody heard that? A lot of you have heard this, right? Okay, when I'm making a sales call, mirroring and matching is one of the most important things that I do. If I make a cold call and I see the person I want to meet is on the phone and their door is open, when I'm standing at their door, if they have, while they're on the phone, if they have their hand up here, I'll put my hand up there. If they're leaning back, I'll lean back. If they're sitting and I can sit and still see them, I'll sit. Do they have their legs crossed? I'll cross my legs. Mirroring and matching, I know that I have a much better chance of that person meeting with me, even if it's for just 30 seconds, by mirroring and matching. Why? Because I've already developed a rapport with them. I've already developed a rapport. They already have a trust in me. So mirroring and matching is one of the most important things in sales when you're making a sales call. It's very powerful. It truly is a superpower. I use it very effectively. And there are 3 points that I'd like to make. First of all, it's a way for you to create immediate rapport with someone. Second of all, they'll never know. When I learned about mirroring and matching many years ago, I believe it was Anthony Robbins. Everybody's heard of Anthony Robbins, right? He gave a seminar on mirroring and matching. I love Anthony Robbins. I also listened to his 30-day personal power program. Anybody ever do that, the personal power program? Oh, he's great. You should all do the personal power program. Because you know what? He talks about goal setting, but he talks about how to use emotions when setting goals, right? For example, I want to lose weight, right? So I write down, I want to lose 20 pounds. But what Robbins does is he says, okay, now why do you want to lose the weight? Oh, gee, I want to look good. I want to see my grandchildren graduate from college. All of a sudden, it's emotion, right? When I want to have that second hamburger, I don't go for it because I'm using those emotions. So the 30-day program, I highly recommend it. It's great, Anthony Robbins. So when you're mirroring and matching, people will not know. I used to think that they're going to say, Greif, you're mirroring and matching me. No, it never ever happens. And before you think that mirroring and matching is unethical and a dishonest way to sell, it's not, because it's human communication. We're already mirroring and matching each other. We're already doing it. You'll notice people sitting. Now that you know the superpower, you'll notice with other people through the day. People sit. If one person has their right leg crossed over their left leg, you'll see several people doing that. When people have their arms crossed, people have their arms crossed together. So we're already mirroring and matching because it's the human condition. We're already communicating this way by mirroring and matching. We want other people to feel comfortable with us. We want to develop that trust. We want to develop that rapport. Next, let's talk about perspective. I always think about how I can help the other people that I'm selling to. Always. In sales and in life. It's a great way to go through life. I know with friends and family, I'm always thinking about how I can help other people. It's a beautiful way to go through life. And it doesn't even, at a certain point, you realize it's not even about getting business from that person. It's about helping people. And the business comes. But it's a beautiful way to go through life, and I love it. I very often will ask friends and clients, how can I help you to build your business? So, you know, there's also another older presenter, sales presenter called Zig Ziglar. I don't know if anybody's heard of Zig Ziglar. Zig Ziglar was around 1,000 years ago. No, it wasn't 1,000 years ago, but 100 years ago. Zig Ziglar, I loved Zig, and he wrote, you can get just about anything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want out of life. And it's so true, and it's a beautiful way to go through life and business, helping other people. And when I meet other salespeople, especially people I want to do business with, I have what I call a signature question, and I highly recommend you create a signature question and memorize it. And this is my signature question. When I meet people, especially when I meet people for the first time in business, I ask the signature question. Tell me more about your business and tell me who I can introduce you to help you to build your business. That's my signature question. Tell me more about your business and how can I help you to build your business? Who can I introduce you to? Or how can I help you to build your business? I love that because people love to talk about their business. People love to talk about themselves. And I'm helping to facilitate that. Tell me more about yourself. Tell me more about your business. Right? When we all came in this evening, right? We were all asking each other, where are you from? Right? What do we have in common? Tell me more about what are you studying? What's your business like? Right? How's business? How's business? People love to talk about their business. And I've been thinking about this for university students like you. What I've been thinking is, when you're looking for a job, when you're looking to be hired, I love the signature question for you. I don't know if you all have jobs that are just waiting for you when you get out of here, or you're going to be interviewing for jobs, but I love this signature question for you. Tell me more about your business and how can I help you to build your business, right? If I had a young person with energy come up to me and say, Jeffrey, tell me more about your business and how I can help you to build your business, even if you're on an interview, even if that person doesn't hire you, you're gonna blow their minds, okay? And if they have an opportunity to refer you to some other business person, you'll be the first person to come to mind. I've never had anybody come up to me, somebody who was looking for a job, somebody who I was interviewing. I've never had somebody say to me, Jeffrey, regardless of whether or not you hire me, tell me more about your business and how can I help you to build your business? I would do everything I could to help that person be placed with a job in their career of choice. So I highly recommend it. I love that for you. When you're interviewing or when you're just speaking to people, maybe you're meeting other business people, ask that question. How can I help you to build your business? Regardless of not as to whether or not you hire me, tell me more about your business and how I can help you to build your business. Maybe you can introduce them to people. And let's discuss networking events. When you're looking to be hired, ask yourself this question. What is the ideal company that I want to work for? And where do their owners and decision makers hang out? And then go hang out there. That's what I do. I think to myself, who is my ideal client? And where do they hang out? That's why I Google a lot, or I use LinkedIn a lot. I'm going to get into a little LinkedIn. And I use LinkedIn a lot and Google, at least once or twice a year, I Google to see, I think to myself, who's my ideal client? And where are they hanging out? What trade associations are in my area? What new trade associations have been created recently? What new networking events are being created recently? And sometimes things change, right? Like there was a networking event that I went to that I was not impressed with about 10 years ago. Suddenly I was Googling around and doing some research, thinking, who is my ideal client? Where do I want to meet them? And one of my clients was on the panel discussion. I never would have known this if I didn't use Google once or twice a year to do this. Who's my ideal client? Where do they hang out? And then I go hang out there. So things change. That networking event, I don't miss a single event that they have. And of course, after you're hired, you want to meet people. You want to sell to people. And ask yourself, who is my ideal client, like I do? Where do they hang out? And then go hang out there. Use mirroring and matching when you're at networking events, when you're on an interview, and when you're in front of people that you want to do business with. I cannot stress strongly enough, mirroring and matching is very important because you're developing rapport, you're developing trust, and ask people about their business. And you know, this wasn't part of this, but I was just thinking, a lot of times people don't want to attend networking events because they're fearful. They don't know what to expect. You may be walking into a room at a trade association or a networking event where there may be a room full of people that you do not know. It could be scary, right? You don't know what to expect. You don't know who you're gonna see there. So what I do in my head is, and I highly recommend you do this, practice it in your head when you're walking into a networking event, when you're walking into a new trade association event. Walk over to the first person you do not know and introduce yourself. This way, you break the ice. They're gonna be grateful that you did because they're there to meet people also, right? And here's the other important part of it, is that everybody in the room is watching. So when you walk over to somebody who you do not know and you introduce them to you, other people are watching, right? Everybody's watching, and they will feel more comfortable having a conversation with you when they see you walking around the room, right? And when you see me, Jeffrey Greif, at your next networking event, come over to me, take a picture with me, and we'll post it on LinkedIn. Did we do that, Keith?
I think you did, yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
think you
did. We
yeah.
posted that photo on LinkedIn. Yeah, it's great. I love doing that with my friends in the business. Okay. Oops. Let's move on to a very important aspect of sales, business, and life, and it's something that Mark and I were talking about earlier. This is the tough part of sales. The tough part is the rejection. The rejection, the constant rejection, the failure, the pain. I've been in the business for 37 years. I've had my share of rejection. When you're making sales call after sales call after sales call and nobody is interested, it can be tough, right? And rejection destroys and burns out probably 80% of salespeople. You know, anybody can stay motivated for 6 weeks or 6 months, but to stay motivated for 6 years or 37 years like me, I must be out of my mind, right? I must be crazy. But there are certain, I'm kidding, there are certain strategies that I use. We need to face it, it's coming, right? The rejection, the failure, the pain, it's coming. We have to face it, we have to accept it, we have to learn from it, and we have to move on. And I will share with you, oh the pain. About 2.5 years ago, I sourced a $190 million transaction. I did what all salespeople should not do. What is that? I calculated what my commission was going to be on that. I should not have done that, but I did. You getting me in the photo? We going to post this on LinkedIn? Thank you.
We'll take another one at the end too. Yeah.
Thank you. I was going to make about $35,000 myself on that transaction, and it fell through. Oh, the pain. There were some moments there, but that's sales. That's selling. That's business. That's life. We're all going to face disappointment, and you know there have been many times where business has been tough. And I had to look at my son and my wife and think to myself, how am I going to pay next month's mortgage? That's hard. That's pain, right? So we all have to face it. We all have to understand it. And sales is like anything else in life that we want to be successful at. Let's face it. What about being in shape, right? You want to be fit. You're going to have to go through some pain. Right? You're going to have to work out. You're going to have to feel sore. You're going to have some control over what you're eating or drinking, right? And how do we do that? Well, we think we become future oriented, right? We have to think, wow, I'm going to be fit. I'm going to look good. I'm going to be sexy. Right? I'm going to look great. I'm going to be thin, and I like to have that control over my life. So when you get up in the morning and you have to work out, what are you going to be thinking about? Are you going to be thinking about hitting the alarm and sleeping for another half an hour. Or you're gonna think, I gotta get up and work out, I gotta feel that pain, I gotta feel that resistance. It's the same thing in sales. Here are some tips on facing the rejection. This is a big part of being a salesperson or being a business person. These are tips that I use on how I face the rejection, the negativity, the disappointment, and the pain. First of all, I work with a psychotherapist, so I can vent my emotions. I've been working with a psychotherapist once a week for the last 25 years. And look, let's face it, I'm facing a lot of rejection out there, right? All these sales calls, $190 million transaction that fell through, right? A lot of pain. Well, I work with a psychotherapist so it doesn't burn me out, so it doesn't destroy me. And the second thing, and this is very important, is reframing. Reinterpreting the negative thoughts, and do your best to reframe them to positive thoughts. I know it's hard. Like I said before, with being fit, you gotta face some pain. Stop drinking. I stopped drinking about 6.5 years ago, right? As long as I was thinking how relaxing it was, oh, how there was so much status because I was drinking expensive scotch, you know. Bonding with my friends and my wife over a cocktail. As long as I was thinking that, there's just no way that I'm gonna stop drinking. But it was very important to me to stop. I didn't have a problem, but I wanted to stop. So I guess all people with a problem say I didn't have a problem. I don't know. So what did I have to do? I had to change the negative thinking into positive thinking. So I used the same strategy I use in sales. I started thinking, I want to get up early in the morning and work out. I want to have that energy for my business the next day, right? I want to be fit. I've lost almost 20 pounds since I stopped drinking. I look great. And you know, I started thinking about all the positive reasons. I wanted to be able to read at night. I wanted to read a lot before I went to sleep at night. And I was reading these great books. Also, I had hired some other salespeople that I was training. I needed to have that energy. These people were 30 years younger than I was at the time. I needed that energy. So as long as I focused on the positives, then I was able to stop drinking. I put the glass of scotch down, and that was 6.5 years ago. So I'm very proud of that. And it's very important when it comes to sales or any business is to reframe the negative so it serves you. So I think to myself, when I'm facing the rejection in selling, on every sales call where I'm rejected and I'm facing that rejection, I think, what did I learn? How can I improve? What did I learn on this sales call where I was rejected? How can I get better in everything? How can I get better in sales? How could I have marketed my company better? How could I have sold? What words could I have used that were different, or physiology? How could I have learned more about that account so that in the future I can be a better salesperson? How did this event make me strong, right? When I face that rejection, I think to myself, I get in my car and I feel that pain, and I think to myself, what do you got, Greif? What are you made out of? Let's get on to the next sales call, right? This is just a speed bump on the road to success, I tell myself. I have that future orientation. Whenever I have that pain, that rejection, and I think, what's the future gonna be like? And who am I responsible to, right? There are a lot of people in my company that rely on me bringing in the business. They have food to put on the table, mortgages to pay. They have education for their children. I got to get to that next sales call, right? It's a way to change the way that I'm thinking about it. I think about my family, my responsibilities to my company, my community, the charities that I give business to. Okay, so I face a little rejection. On to the next sales call, right? What did I learn? That's the most important thing. What am I made of? Can I take it? That's what I say to myself. Can you take it, Greif? Okay, great. You can take it. Get on to the next sales call, okay? What am I made of? And how has this made me stronger? Reframing, reinterpreting the event, the emotions to serve you instead of, I'm sorry to say, like 80% of the salespeople out there, the rejection destroys them eventually. So reframing, and work with a psychotherapist. And I love this quote by Tony Robbins. Tony wrote, the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of discomfort that you can live with. You want to be a 100% commissionable salesperson, you're going to face some discomfort. How much can you face and still move on to the next sales call? That's where the success is. I also love this quote from Robbins. He says, when you're starting out, if you want to be great, first you got to be good. If you want to be good, first you got to be bad. And if you want to be bad, first you got to start. So with this podcast that I'm putting together, I'm anxious about it. I'm anxious, right? I mean, it's new. I know I'm going to be bad when I'm first starting out with it. Oh, no. I know that in 10 years, I'm going to be listening to my first episodes and cringe. But that's the beauty of it. That's where we learn. It's through the failure where we learn. You got to try. So first we try before we can be bad at something, and then good, and eventually we'll be great at it. And in sales and in life, we want success. We just have to keep trying, failing, and learning and improving. It's the only way. It's the only way. And I also wanted to touch on LinkedIn a little bit. LinkedIn is, yeah.
Sorry, before we move on.
Sure.
When you're in a sales call and
Yeah.
you feel the rejection, it's like, it's right there. Like you feel the impending doom of it. How do you try to kind of maintain control of the conversation, as you were saying before? Like how do you try to continuously steer it your way? And at one point, do you realize, okay, this client is lost. I have to cut my losses. This just isn't going to happen.
Yeah. You have to have that self-talk, because we all start drifting towards the abyss, right? When it's palpable and we feel that they just don't want to be talking to us anymore and they want us out of the office and they want to get back to their business. It's that self-talk to say to yourself positive things. Okay, I'm learning something here. And even when the call is going bad, and I know I'm not going to be getting business from this person today, I still ask for the business. Even when I know it's not going to happen, I finish up, and to your point, when I feel that it's just not going to happen today, I don't want to keep pushing it, because I know in 6 months or 6 years, I may be able to come back, and this may be a good client of mine. So I don't want to upset them by continuing on and on and on. So I will cut it short. However, I still ask for the order. I still ask for the order every time. Now, when it's a situation like that, I never get the order. But at least I try, because you never know. I mean, there have been times when I've called on people where, oh man, I remember there was an attorney that I called on for 20 years, and I walked into his office and he just goes, Greif, how long are you calling on me? I go, 20 years. He goes, all right, here's a new contract. Here's the new contract. Sometimes that's what it takes. Now, he never gave me another order after that, and that was 10 years ago. But hey, I got one order anyway, right? But it's that self-talk, because you have to think to yourself, okay, this isn't going the way I want it to go. I'm going to end this as quickly as possible. I'm going to ask him a couple of more questions. I'm going to learn a little bit more about his business or her business, and then I'm going to split, right? And then I always write a thank you note. Yeah.
Yeah, so off that point, how much of sales would you say, like especially when you don't end up getting sales, how much of sales does it, like your time end up being like kind of reflecting and understanding what you could have done differently, and understanding how to push that to the next conversation.
To the next sales call, would I make with that I make with that same person?
Whether it's with the same person or like similar personality types, because I assume that you'll start to pick up like personality types and understand
Yes.
like basic psychology within individuals.
Right. I try my best, especially when it's a first meeting, to learn as much as I can about their business. And I always ask for the order, but especially with the initial meeting, the most important thing is to learn as much as you can about their business. And even before you meet with them, go on their website, speak to people who may know them. That's what I do. I try my best. I try to find out who else is doing business with that company, and what can they teach me about it. Sometimes I'll find out the guy's brother is in my business. Well, I got to keep calling on the guy because the brother may go out of business someday, but I'm probably not going to get business until the brother goes out of business, right? It's funny that I use that example because that recently happened to me. One of my old clients, his brother, it's so funny. His brother got into the business, and about 15 years went by, and a few years ago I started doing business with them again because the brother retired. Sometimes you just got to outlive them, Yeah. I hope I answered your question. The most important thing to me is learning as much as you can about their business and how they make purchase decisions. And if you know other people who know them, it gives you a leg up. And of course, always go on the website before you make the sales call to learn as much as you can about their business. Oh, LinkedIn. I'm big on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. And I want to stress, LinkedIn is the business social media platform, nothing else. When I teach this to law firms, when I give this presentation to law firms, I tell the law firms, it isn't Facebook, it isn't, I don't even know what are some of the other social media? Instagram, I don't even know what Instagram is, but there's another one. Oh, TikTok, people go on TikTok. I don't know what TikTok is, but it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the business social media platform. If you want to post pictures of your cat falling off of a chair, that's for other social media, not LinkedIn. And it's very important. There are three things that I always stress about LinkedIn. Number one is posting business content. You don't want to post personal or political commentary. I disconnect from everybody that I see on LinkedIn who posts political commentary. And sometimes I see people, business people, they post pictures of their kids. They went to Disneyland. No, that's not for LinkedIn. LinkedIn is business, so post business content only, post regularly. It's very important to post consistently. I work with a woman, her name is Beth Granger. She's a LinkedIn expert. I speak to Beth once a month. She reviewed my LinkedIn page and she teaches me about LinkedIn. And one of the things that she taught me about LinkedIn, does everybody here have a LinkedIn page? Great, good, I'm glad to hear that. One of the most important things that Beth taught me, and you can look up Beth Granger on LinkedIn, she's phenomenal, and look at some of her content. I highly recommend at some point hire her, she's a great resource. And the other thing that Beth taught me is posting regularly. Why? Does anybody know why? Why it's important to post regularly? Yes?
The more you post, the more like your potential clients will see you.
Yes, that's true. And in addition to that, you're teaching the LinkedIn algorithm. The LinkedIn algorithm, you're teaching it to send your posts to more people. A lot of people think that everyone that I'm connected to on LinkedIn sees my posts. No. The LinkedIn algorithm, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Nobody really knows how it works. But one of the things that's very important is posting regularly, because you're teaching the LinkedIn algorithm that more and more people should see your post. And I read this recently, that when you post regularly, like once a week, I post more than that, But if you post once a week, 4 times as many people on LinkedIn see your posts as opposed to posting every so often. If you're posting once a month or once every, sometimes I go on people's LinkedIn page, I see they post, last posted 3 months ago, 6 months ago. No, nobody is seeing those posts. Posting once a week and 4 times as many people are going to see your LinkedIn posts. Very important. So post consistently. Even if you here's a little secret. Even if you go on LinkedIn and you see an interesting article, you can repost that. And it's just as good as coming up with your own content to post on LinkedIn. So when somebody that you're reviewing your feed and you see somebody who's posted an interesting article or a networking event or a trade association event that's coming up, repost it. You don't even have to comment. You can if you want to, but just reposting it teaches the LinkedIn algorithm to send your posts to more and more people. Very important. Here's another thing that a lot of business people don't do. Reviewing your feed on LinkedIn is very important. Young people understand this. Older people that I give this presentation to tend not to understand this. You've got to review your feed consistently. I do every Sunday. I review my LinkedIn feed, and then I catch as catch can through the week. But why is it important to review your LinkedIn feed? Anybody? Anybody have a reason as to why? Okay. 20 years ago, when I had a client who was moving to another firm, they would call me. Jeffrey, I'm moving to a new firm. Today, they're probably not calling. They're posting it on LinkedIn, right? So your clients, at some point your clients, and your prospects and your friends and your business associates are telling the world about their business by posting on LinkedIn. If you're not reviewing your feed, you're not seeing it. And I tell the business people that I give this presentation to, if your competitors are reviewing their feed and they see that one of your clients has moved to a new firm or hired somebody new who you should know, that's death. By the time you figure it out 3 months from now, 3 of your competitors have already taken them to lunch to follow up. So it's very important to review your LinkedIn feed. Wow, that was fast. In conclusion, everyone sells, right? The only question is, are we any good at it? And I highly recommend developing sincere rapport and trust with everybody you meet by mirroring and matching. It's a superpower. And asking questions. It's the most important thing. Too many times salespeople make the mistake of walking in and telling the prospect or the client how terrific they are. There's an old saying in sales: telling is not selling. Telling is not selling. Only asking questions is selling. So ask questions. Always think about sales from the perspective of others. Care about people, their businesses, and your friends, right? People that you know. Care, think about it from their perspective, in business and in life. How can I help other people? You know, I recently had this where I was talking to a business person, and he said they happened to be he was interviewing for people, and we had a conversation about it because I said, "What's new in business?" He's not even in my industry. But we had a conversation. I was asking him about his business. He said he was interested in hiring young people for a certain position. 3 months later, I'm out to lunch with somebody else who introduces me to someone who's interested in the same field. I put them together, took them to lunch at a Chinese restaurant in Denville. It was great, my favorite Chinese restaurant in the state. And he may hire him. So isn't that great? It has nothing to do with me receiving any business, but I've helped one of my friends in his business, and I've helped this new friend who I had just recently met, and people will never forget when you help them, right? Very important, and it makes you feel good. It's a great way to go through life. Attend networking events and ask people about their business. Very important. And be prepared before you attend the networking event so that you're able to limit the fear. We all have it. We all have that fear of the unknown. But if you're prepared and have questions that you've memorized. In sales and in life, we all face adversity. Try to reframe the negative thoughts and redefine the negative events to serve you, to change the meaning, to serve you instead of destroying you. We'll keep in touch with one another. Let me know how I can help you on your journey in sales and in life. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I do have this handout, and if you could just pass these around. These are some of the most important books and audios and websites that I've been on that have helped me to become a successful salesperson. I really appreciate your allowing me to come in today. This really means a lot to me. It's fun for me. I love teaching this, and I've been a salesman, as Keith had mentioned. I've been a salesman for 37 years and in advertising for 7 years before that. So I've learned a lot along the way, and I just really love giving this presentation. Yes?
I think even though you can teach us how to sell, your most valuable thing which you have is the experience. So how do you think we can get it among ourselves instead of going to the networking event? Because even those small mistakes cost us a lot, right? So how do you think you can practice that, like inside of a police environment?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because let me promise you this. When a young person comes into a business, especially if you want to be a salesperson, when a young person comes into a business with energy and questions, it means more than having the experience. It means more than having the experience. Believe me, it does. Because you can always learn how to sell. You can always learn the products. But to have that energy, that compassion and for other people, and not only the compassion for other people, but passion for learning about business and that energy, I love it. I love it. When I see young people that I'm interviewing, it doesn't matter to me that they know how to make a sales presentation. I want somebody who's committed, somebody who I know is going to work hard, get up early in the morning, work late at night, work on the weekends, come with me to networking events, work a room together. That's what I'm looking for.
So, exactly. So how do you think we can achieve that confidence which you have, which you showcase to us?
Yeah.
So how
The
can
confidence?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You got to fake it till you make it.
Okay.
Fake it till you make it. When I was making sales calls, I remember I wasn't trained in sales. When I got into sales, they gave me 1,000 business cards and they said, go get them. Well, I just knocked doors and learned along the way. But also there were so many resources like Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy and Earl Nightingale and so many of the salespeople that I've read their books along the way and listened to their audio. I learned along the way. But it's that commitment, that passion, the love of selling. That's more important when you're first starting out than it is to actually have the connections and know what to say and just getting out there and learning. Right? You'll learn it. You'll learn it along the way. I love to see people that I'm interviewing that just have that energy. Young people, energy like me. Yes.
So this is kind of going along with that, but everybody in this room, I think their like main selling right now is that we're all interviewing. So besides like just energy, like do you have any like master interviewing tips for us? Like,
You know what? I love that signature question. When you're interviewing, ask the question, tell me more about your business. First and foremost, tell me more about your business. And also, tell me more about your business. Memorize it, be confident. Tell me more about your business and how I can help you to build your business. If I had a young person walk into my office and ask me that question, tell me more about your business and how I can help you to build your business, I would do everything I could to help that person. If I couldn't hire them, I would do everything I could to help that person be hired by a friend or a business associate that I know.
Could I use that line right now on you?
I'm sorry?
Could I use that line right now on you? Like, tell me more about your business.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm in the real estate business, and I'm always looking to meet commercial real estate attorneys and developers. So if you know any, please recommend them to me. Thank you. You and I will follow up with one another. Okay? Yes.
So, my current experience is in real estate brokerage.
Yes.
And one thing I've noticed in myself is that if I try to make one successful follow-up and then try to connect him, I then lose the momentum, let me give you an example. Let's say on my 50th call, I got a yes. And then that drive that I had of getting to that 50th call, then now is gone to getting to the 100th call. If you get my point. Has that ever happened to you, or is it just me?
It's not just you, of course. You mean you've connected with somebody, you've called on them many times, and you're just not sourcing any business from them?
No, essentially, when you get your first success,
Yes.
I don't have the best words to put it together, but when you get your
All right.
first success,
Yeah.
then you lose that momentum that you had to get to that first success.
You mean to keep in touch with the person that you've received a referral from?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. Here's what I like to do, and I know this was not part of this presentation, but this is what I love to do. I'm a connector. So I love to help my clients and prospects and friends in the industry to connect with one another. So I'll make introductions. So to your point, if you've had some success, that means you've got some trust. You have some rapport with that person, that business person. I highly recommend that when you're out making sales calls and you're meeting other people at networking events, trade association events, friends, right? Your parents' friends, if there's someone that you meet who may be able to either send business to your contact that you've had some success with, or they may be able to refer business to somebody else, make an introduction. Make an introduction. Sometimes I do it just by email. I just want to make introductions. In the subject line, introductions. I think this person. I think you'll be able to refer business to each other. Here's their LinkedIn page, and then at the bottom, I always write, let me know if you'd like me to make personal introductions. Maybe meet for coffee. Meet make personal introductions if you'd like. I also always write, I know you'll be able to refer business to one another. Let me know if I can assist further in any way. So that person that you had some success with, if you help them to meet somebody that they may be able to source some business from, they will never forget you. They may never source any business from them. They might. But regardless, they're going to love you forever because you thought of them. You care. Right? Remember I said earlier, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You go out of your way to introduce somebody to someone that they may be able to refer business to them, they'll remember you the rest of their lives. Yes?
In the real estate industry, there's a lot of careers and paths you can take. Some are more sales oriented, some are not, doing something like yourself, or maybe something like investment sales. You've been in sales for a long time. I'm assuming you love it. What kind of personality or person do you think might be driven towards a sales career? And I know you're gonna say everyone, it's not like an innate thing, but what for students listening to you talk about sales, what might they resonate with? Like, oh, I kind of think like that, or that kind of excites me.
You know, everybody thinks that it takes being an extrovert to be a great salesperson. I have found that people that are introverts focus more of their attention on the clients and the prospects and ask the questions, right? To be an extrovert and just blowing like a bull in a china shop is not always, you may have that confidence, which is great, but it's not always a way to learn more about the client or the prospect in order to sell them. So, you know, introverts can become extroverts at some point. You just got to keep doing it, right? Because you face that rejection, and we all come to this point where we say, maybe it's not for me. I'm doing it 37 years, and sometimes I think to myself, the rejection. I don't know if it's going to work out, which is ridiculous because I've been doing it for 37 years and I've been pretty successful at it.
So what's kept you in sales? That's, I guess, yeah.
I love it. I love learning about other people's businesses. I love it. I get jazzed by it. Learning about other people's businesses and seeing how I can help them to grow their business. I don't know, would you say I'm an extrovert, an introvert? I don't know. I don't think there is any typecast person who gets into sales who can be successful. I think anybody can be successful in sales. You just need the right tools. Some of the tools that we've reviewed today during this presentation. So meet people, ask questions, care, and just keep doing it, and you will be successful. Yes?
Following up on his question of why sales, my
Yeah.
question is, why real estate in sales?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I just fell into it. I was in advertising, I got fired so many times. Somebody introduced me to somebody in the real estate business, I got hired. I'll always be grateful for them. And 37 years later, here I am. But I loved being in advertising, it was very interesting. I learned a lot. I was making presentations at a very young age to big shots at Procter & Gamble and Miller Brewing Company. I met a crazy guy. I met a lot of people back then. This is the 80s. And I met this nut. Maybe you've heard of him. His name was Ted Turner. He came in with this ridiculous idea about something called cable news network. We all thought he was out of his mind. We were all dressed like this. I've been dressing this way since 1981, by the way. We were all dressed like this. And he comes in wearing jeans and boots and a bowler tie and a vest and a big belt. We thought, this is Madison Avenue, right? It turned out he was a genius. I met a lot of people. So making presentations to big corporate people at a very young age and getting fired several times, you know, it taught me a lot about myself, facing myself, and coming to understand a lot about myself and what direction I wanted to take with my life and my career. And I got very lucky. Somebody made me an offer, and 37 years later, here I am. It's been a great ride, and I look forward to the next 37 years of sales. Yes?
This might be kind of like a stupid question, but like when you're in a sales situation,
Yeah.
do you like to go in thinking that you're trying to sell yourself or like a product or like a mix of both?
Yeah, it's definitely a combination of both. First of all, what I wouldn't give for a head of hair like this guy, love it. It's both, but it's very important to develop that rapport as quickly as possible, and that's why I really stress the mirroring and matching. It's so important. You've got to develop that rapport first. So I guess it is selling myself when I'm making a sales call. And then once I have that rapport, that connection, that trust, then I can sell the service or the product of the company. So it's both. But initially, I have to say, I think it's very important to develop that rapport first. Show that confidence, even if you're faking it. Anyone else? Yes?
This is like contradictory to being more on the negative side, but like, who shouldn't do sales?
Wow. I never really thought of that. I guess people who are trained to be doctors and lawyers and accountants and who knows what. Everybody sells, so everybody sells. However, people who are just specifically selling a business's products and services, anybody can do it. If you care, if I can do it, anybody can do it. You gotta care, you gotta have that passion, that drive, and always think about it from the perspective of the other person, the client or the prospect. How can I serve? How can I help them? There was a book written many years ago called Mr. Schmooze. I love that book. Anybody hear of Mr. Schmooze? It's a great book. What Mr. Schmooze does, it's a fictional character, but I like to think of myself as kind of a Mr. Schmooze, because what Mr. Schmooze starts doing is he starts learning about how he can help his clients and his prospects. But then he globalizes it, and it becomes, gee, you know what? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to go through life. Now I can help. How do I help my friends? How do I help strangers? How do I help people to meet one another? Family, friends, community. It's beautiful. I love that book. That's great. Yes?
There's no other, you have a question?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Are you,
I'll do the last one, yeah.
okay. When balancing, how do you balance the client and like what's best needed for that person
Yeah.
and the actual sale? Like closing it out and
Closing?
yeah, like let's say like you have clients, you know the deal,
Mm-hmm.
it might not be the best property. How do you balance that?
I mean, if you're selling, for example, a piece of property to somebody and they can only afford a certain type of property, how do you go about selling it to them?
Not just selling, like, you have that rapport with the client.
Sure.
You care about them.
Yes.
And let's say it's like, it might not be the best thing for them.
Oh, then you shouldn't sell it to them if it's not appropriate. You have to live with yourself. I would only sell when it's best for the client, and my commission follows.
Right. And then,
My focus is what's best for the client, what's best for the prospect, what's best for the client. Because otherwise, I can't sleep with myself if I think otherwise. I always have to think what's in the best interests of the client. Always. You show them another house.
To kind of wrap it up,
Yes.
it wasn't the focus of your presentation, but could you just discuss a little bit about what title insurance actually is and like what you guys do, and if you want to maybe mention the railroad story?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. You've listened to the podcast. Everybody should listen to that podcast. I was on the title notes. It was great.
That's not it.
Yeah. In the title insurance business, basically what we do is we make sure that the property you think you're buying is actually the property you are buying. I've seen a lot of crazy things in this business over the years. I've seen people who thought they were buying 2 acres of property when it was actually an acre. I've seen where other people had an interest in the property. I've seen landlocked properties where people needed to negotiate with their neighbors in order to gain access to the property. So that's basically it in a nutshell. We make sure that the property that you think you're buying is actually the property that you are buying. And one of the things that Keith and I were discussing earlier, in my business, we clean up a lot of problems prior to the closing, which is kind of interesting for insurance. And sometimes the buyers and the sellers are not even aware that we're taking steps to clean up what we call a cloud on title. It's very important. Oh yeah, the story. This is a great story. I love telling the story. That's why I shared it on the podcast. Is that we had a property that we were doing the searches on in Hudson County, and we came across. You'll find this interesting also. We found a 15-foot wide strip of property that went for about 3.5 miles, and it was between the road and the Hudson. And we went back 60 years. We went back 80 years. We went back 100 years. We didn't know who owned that strip of land, and it was an abandoned railroad and then a strip of land next to the railroad, which was not uncommon because the municipalities and the states and the federal government would often give like a 15-foot strip so that businesses could load and unload from the railroad, right? We couldn't find who owned it. So we went back over 110 years, and we finally found out that somebody had the foresight to buy that strip from the railroad, thinking at some point people were going to need access from the road to the river. Now, we brought this to the attention of our client, and they were able to negotiate with the family, the heirs, for like $100,000 so that they were able to gain access to the property. Now, had we not done that and they closed and built a $285 million multifamily mixed-use project, guess what? One day, they get a knock on the door from the heirs to the family and they say, hey, you don't have access to this property. We own this 15-foot wide strip. I guarantee you, after building a $285 million project, the heirs of the family who owned that strip of land were not going to negotiate for $100,000. It'd probably be $5 million or $10 million. What were they going to say? No? I love telling that story. It's a great one. So sometimes we'll go all the way back. In fact, I was involved with an industrial acquisition in Brooklyn many years ago where the underwriters from my company had to read and analyze documents from King George for this property in Brooklyn. Pretty cool. Yes?
Like, going off from that, like a question that popped up in my mind, I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit long, but let's say like you want something out of your client and you want him to sell because it'll benefit you.
Okay.
How would you approach that? And would you like be transparent with them and tell that I need this because of this? Otherwise, what approach would you take?
Yeah, it depends on the situation, but I always get back to asking questions so you can learn more about their business. Learn more about their business, how can they be helped, how you can help them to grow their business. I love doing that. I love learning about people's businesses and how I can help them to grow their business. It's fun. It's creative. I love it. Thank you. And I want to say, these were all great questions. Thank you.
Thanks again, Jeff, for coming today.
My pleasure.
Do you want to take a picture with everyone here for LinkedIn?
I would
Please,
love that.
LinkedIn.
Yes.
You guys like up to the front. Already have the camera on the stage. Also, next week we have ICSC. ICSC is the International Council of Shopping Centers. They're the same organization that every semester they have a case competition. Last spring